Hey yo, this is Dash, and I'm not coming to you with a don't you hate it when moment this time, but in case you haven't or don't know by now, I have actually started a semi-successful to this point barbecue business, and my barbecue business is SteelDrumSmokers.com, and I make and deliver steel drum smokers as well as smoked meat. So with that being said, I've been asked quite a few times, how do I prepare my briskets? Now, brisket is probably the most difficult meat to get right. My brisket took me 7 years to get right. And that's not with me cooking it every single weekend, because briskets are expensive. But that's with me cooking it maybe 2 or 3 times a month. And it started to add up. So I had to figure out how to get it right. With that being said, I'm going to cut to my kitchen where I'm going to show you. I bought 2 briskets today to prepare them for sales this weekend. If you haven't already and don't know, you can follow me on Instagram at SteelDrumSmokers. You can check out my website, SteelDrumSmokers.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Facebook.com/SteelDrumSmokers. Yeah. That's the reason why I haven't been putting up videos in, or I haven't put up a video in quite some time. All right, let's go to the kitchen. These are briskets, okay? This brisket here, it weighs in 14.3 pounds or so. And this one weighs in at about 13.4. All right. Pretty in depth here. When I look for briskets, I try to get briskets between the 12 to 15 pound range. I found that when I get briskets bigger than that, a lot of times they're just more fat. You can obviously see this white piece here is fat, and here's the same thing on this one here is a smaller piece there. But if you turn it over, okay, this is what's called the fat cat. What you're looking for is a mid to decent size amount of fat on top. You don't want to have it with no fat, but you don't want to have it all fat because you're paying for that. Me personally, I prefer the fat, but the people who I'm cooking for, they don't actually care for it because they're paying for it, obviously. So, usually whenever I'm in the store, I do the whole pick it up, try to fold it and see how hard it is. Excuse me. Now this one I can tell is harder. I can't really fold it the same way I could the other because there's more fat on this side here. This is actually, the part that's I'm gonna trim some of that. So what I'm gonna do, because this is the bigger brisket and this is the one that I'm gonna have to trim more, I'll show you how I trim this. All right. First thing, wash my hands. All right, so no, you're not going crazy. Yes, I do have on gloves, and yes, I did put down foil. I always do. So first thing I'm gonna do, make sure I have the bigger brisket cut into the package. Ooh, all you vegetarians, look away. I'm gonna rinse this off. Now, one of the things that I try to do I'm gonna rinse this off. One of the things that I try to do is let the brisket sit out to the point where it is not cold anymore. Reason being, when you're cooking the brisket, if it's still cold, you're gonna be fighting to get to your internal done temperature a little bit harder than if you would if it were room temperature, which would, you know, it helps to accelerate your cook. So letting it sit out for half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour or more so that it gets warmer internally is not a bad thing. Now, what I'm gonna do with this, and you see I have a fillet knife just because that's the knife that I found works best for me. Come in here, and I'm gonna go on the inside, underside rather. And once you do this once or twice, see how I got just the fat for the most part? Not much meat on the outside of there. Now if I wanted to, I could go back in here, cut this portion out too. And again, getting just the fat. So this is just the first portion. Usually I chuck this right in the trash. Now, I'm done on the bottom side. You'll see some people trim a whole lot more and trim all of this and pull all of this off. It's not necessary. I will take these pieces like that are just kind of flapping around off though. Now, this is what I was talking about on the top side. This is again is the fat cap. Let me kind of stretch this out a little bit. Because it was all balled up in the package, it's kind of trying to rest. I personally, if I'm cooking a brisket for myself, like I said before, I'll leave almost all the fat on. But if I'm cooking a brisket to sell, I try and cut the fat and get it down to the point where it's a nice, even, about 1/4 of an inch layer on the brisket. And you see, obviously, I'm trying to keep my hands and fingers away from the blade. All right. And here, I'll show you how thick. So there's probably a good 1/4 of an inch that came off of there. And I'm gonna go back and get a little more. You can see this piece here is a little fatter than I would want it to be. Same thing over here. You can kind of see where somebody started trimming it. Hopefully you can see that without problem. You see how some of that, the muscle is poking through, the meat is actually poking through? That is completely fine. Don't have to worry about that. The more trimming you do on the front end, less you'll be fighting with it to cook. There's a piece in here that's a little thicker than I would like. So I'm gonna come in here and take this piece off too. Again, no need to worry about that little bit of muscle showing. It'll be fine. So now if you're unaware, the brisket is actually comprised of two muscles. There's a muscle that's going this way, so basically from about here this way, This piece is called the flat. Where this piece here, which you can see the separation here, where the fat line goes in here. This is called a decal. From what I understand, I've never actually looked it up to see what it means, but it's just a piece of fat. Typically, it's a piece of fat that takes two muscles and it separates the two, or it's so the two muscles, one goes this way. Well, here, one goes this way, and the other is on top of it this way. Okay, so here's the point, which is this way, and this is the flat, which is down here. The point this way and this way, the decal was all in here. All right, so I cut some of that out. There's a little bit more in there I could take out, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Next thing, season it. You season it however you like. I obviously have my tried and true method of seasoning my brisket. Unfortunately, I'm not giving that away in this video, but there's at least how you trim a brisket, okay? If you have any questions, you can email me at mdsteeldrumsmokers@gmail.com. Leave a comment down below. Or follow me on Instagram. When I'm cooking these things and you have questions, just hit me up. Alright. Time to go season. Alright, so due to the magic of television, this is my brisket, or this is the second brisket. I've already seasoned the first one. And you see, this is the underside, okay? The top side is where the fat cap is. Now you see, I've seasoned all sides, okay? You'll hear some people say that you can't over season the brisket. I'm gonna tell you that you can, okay? I only put a specific set of seasonings on my brisket, and once I'm done with that specific set of seasonings, that's it, okay? So, there we go. Hopefully that has helped you in your quest to get brisket right, okay? Like I said before, if you have any problems, questions, feel free to leave me a comment below, or check out the website www.steeldrumsmokers.com, or on Instagram or Facebook. All right, thanks. I gotta season the other side, like I said before. I ain't showing you that. So I was just about to break down the brisket. When I say break down a brisket, the brisket is cooked, and I'm getting ready to separate it so that I can sell it off. I usually sell briskets by the pound. So how about you kinda join me for me breaking down this brisket? All right, here we go. All right, so here we have a whole brisket. Now, the thing that you need to know about a brisket is this is a whole packer, okay, or a whole brisket. There's two portions to this brisket. There's this piece right here. It goes from about here to here. It's called the point. And then the other side, if you will, is called the flat. Now, this is where I cut a piece out of it already. But basically, you can kind of see that there's two different pieces here. This piece is where you get your burnt ends from, okay? This is the fattier of the two cuts, or the fattier of the two meats. So what happens is you take and you cut the point off of the flat. And, you know, I'll show you all of that real fast. So just to make it easier for you, so you can kind of see where the separation is, I'm gonna do that so you can see in there where there's that separation. But when you start breaking these things down, you'll be able to come in here and there's a line of fat that goes between the two, okay? Between the two cuts of meat. And what you're gonna do is just run a long knife through it, bam. This is the point, this is the flat. You can see this is part of the point here that I just undercut, and this is where that fat line, the two muscles lay on each other. So what I always do is I take the point and I set it off to the side, and then I start working with the flat. I'll trim some of this fat out of here, and then also some of the fat off of the top. All right, this is what's called the fat cap. Now, a lot of the fat cap I'll trim prior to cooking, It's just that I like to leave some of it on there so that obviously it gets some good flavor in there, because fat is flavor. All right, but I cut it out for the most part before I won't say serve it, but before I sell it. There's another little piece here. Now I'm sure some of you out there are like, dude, you're wasting it. Here's the thing. The people who I'm selling this to, they don't want to pay for the fat. So I don't blame them. Now, what you saw me do was take and flip the point over. Now, it's kind of difficult to see, but the grains of the meat go this way. Because I'm right-handed, I'll turn it this way, and then I'll use my electric knife there. Now I'm just gonna continue and slice the rest of the brisket, but that's pretty much that for the flat. And now you can see, whoop, I didn't get that all the way. As you can see, there's a decent little bit of smoke ring here. I smoked this brisket in one of the steel drums, and what happened was I had to leave it unattended, so my fire was a little hotter than I wanted it to. But here's a good picture of one of the ones I've done in the big kick-ass smoker. If you notice the difference between the smoke ring on this brisket I have in my hand versus the one I showed you, here it is again. All right, and the difference is the fact that that cooked at a lower temperature. I don't know why I pushed that button like I wasn't still talking. It cooked at a lower temperature, and that was just wood. This one cooked in one of the drums, and with that I used charcoal and wood mixture, so it wasn't as much smoke. Okay, obviously using straight wood is going to give me the best smoke ring because of the fact that I was cooking in the drum and I needed to cook this one a little hotter and faster, is why the smoke ring on this looks like this. So through the magic of television, there you go. This is the whole flat broken down. Again, I make slices and then I cut it in half, kind of, so it makes it a little more manageable for me when I'm putting it in the little styrofoam boxes. But there you go. I mean, quick and dirty, how to break down the brisket. Now, what I'll do also is I'll switch this for the point, and I'll show you how to take care of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the point. This is again where you get the burnt ends from. Now, if I were trying to make burnt ends out of this, I would pretty much cube the whole thing. But since I'm not, and I'm more or less breaking it down to sell, almost pretty much by the pound, what I'm gonna do is you can see the fat in there, okay? This portion here, this is the fat cap. So this is what I wanna trim off, but obviously I don't wanna take it all off, but I wanna get it to the point where some of it is gone. We don't want too much of that. And there you go, that's not too much lost there. As far as this piece here, okay, again, there's a pretty decent sized piece of fat there, okay? Obviously you can see from there up, it's fat. So trim some of that off. And you can kind of see, when you start seeing like the oil and the juices, all right, that's where you're getting between the fat and the meat. It's not too far away. See, there it is right there. And that's how you kind of know when you need to stop. All right, there you can see it again. And I'm just gonna come off the end of this one, okay?